lot of people don't want to feel the way they feel. We live in a world where social media is telling us how we feel, telling us that we're not good enough so they can sell us something. I have this thing that I call the 4 A's of behavioural change. When you feel overwhelmed, having these anchor focuses can be really helpful because it can get you to focus on one thing instead of everything. The 4 A's are awareness, accountability, acceptance, action. My father was a very violent man. The thing is, an event happens in our life. We can't go back in time and change what happened. So what are we wrestling with? What are we trying to accept? We're trying to accept how we feel about it. I had to be aware of what happened. I had to take accountability for anything within it. I was accountable for being a child. It's not that I didn't do anything, it's I couldn't do anything. Then I had to accept the emotions that I had. Because here's the thing, if I don't accept it, then I can't change it. If I don't accept it, it doesn't belong to me. I have to own my emotions. And then the last one, action. What do we do? And what do we do is informed by all of these things. What was the problem? What can I have influence over? What don't I have influence over? You do get one life. And it's when you have people close to you that pass away and you hear their regrets, you hear the things that they realise weren't important at all. Don't be 90 years old sitting in your rocking chair wondering what if would have happened if you'd tried this, if you'd done that. Because here's the thing, if you try and you fail, at least you've got something to accept. Do you know what's really hard to accept? I wonder what if. No thanks.
Hello guys, welcome back to House of Impact Podcast. This is your host Geni here. Before we roll into today's episode, I want to say a massive thank you to all of you guys that subscribed, that support the channel, that support the podcast. Your support means the world to me and to my team and to all the guests that decide to take time out of their days to come here for you guys. A lot of you are not subscribed to our channel, so please make us the immense, humongous favor to subscribe, because when you guys subscribe, the channel grows, bigger guests, better conversations, even sometimes more funding to do bigger, better things with the podcast. So please make sure you guys do that. Today's episode, I bring you Geni Lawrence. He is a self-development coach for 20 years, and he's worked with a lot of people. He helps them with self-sabotage, truly healing the root cause of their symptoms and their problems, which is not getting to where they want to be. So if you've been experiencing self-sabotage, which we all do, imposter syndrome, if you have that nudge and that feeling that you are not who you were meant to be, this is going to be the episode for you. Let's run to episode. Okay, Geni, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for the invitation. And can I start by saying congratulations on the success of your fabulous podcast.
Thank you.
It's a testament to the effort that you're putting in and all the time and all of the hard work. And I hope you've had the opportunity to sit and give yourself a pat on the back and say, well done me.
I often thanks so much for saying that. I do forget a lot of times too.
Imagine what yourself of 3 years ago would have thought about this. Imagine.
Oh, not possible.
Well,
not possible. Amazing. Okay. I want to open this podcast, this episode. It's going to be so impactful, and I really want to have you on because obviously I've been following your content a lot. It has had a very big impact on me. So I really want to really go deep and help the listeners as much as we can to get to a place they want to be. You said something that really resonated with me. Imposter syndrome doesn't show up when you're standing still. It shows up when you are moving forward. You are not being exposed. You are being expanded. What is imposter syndrome? Like, truly. Let's start there.
Well, the first thing I'll say, it's probably not helpful, but is I don't see why we would believe in imposter syndrome. I think, how helpful is that really? What are we talking about here? Well, when we describe it, what we're talking about essentially is we're saying I'm scared. But instead of saying we're scared, we self-diagnose ourselves with this weighty syndrome that feels like we're going to have it forever and we've got to manage it, and we wait for it to come and we anticipate it, and it comes in and sabotages us because we kind of bring it into fruition. Or we can say, today I've got to speak in front of 1,000 people and I'm a bit scared about that. Wait, yep, that's the right emotion. I'm scared. And all of a sudden we find ourselves being able, in some shape or form, being able to accept it. Because what is imposter syndrome? Let's call it imposter syndrome when in sense it's fear. Well, imposter syndrome is you're scared because you're uncomfortable. And that was the point. You've moved out of your comfort zone, the things that are familiar to you, because familiarity creates comfort for us. That's what it does. You know, the reason why we try to find things familiar, or we try to work with things in a familiar way, is because it offers us that feeling of comfort. As soon as we step out of that and we start to do things we've never done before, we start to feel uncomfortable. And human beings, we want to gravitate towards comfort and away from discomfort. Very logical. So now we have this fear, and we call it imposter syndrome because it feels productive, probably. Feels like, oh, right, so because it's got a name, everyone's had it before, that's good. But when I have clients and they get imposter syndrome, I congratulate them. I get excited for them. And I say, good, this is good. And they say, oh, well, how's it good? And I say, well, when you were sat watching Netflix last night, did you get imposter syndrome? Well, of course I didn't. No, it's because you don't get imposter syndrome when you're doing things that don't matter to you. What is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is an uncomfortable feeling. Do you go to the gym? Yeah, so when you go to the gym and you work out, you push your muscles, your body, just a little bit out of its comfort zone to create adaptation, to create progress. And then the next day, you have this uncomfortable feeling in your muscles, right? So say you've worked on your legs and you've got leg DOMs and you're feeling that ache in your legs. You don't go, oh my gosh, I got ache in my legs. I'm going to ring the doctor. I'm going to go to hospital. Something's really wrong. You go, oh yeah, I feel like I've done something.
Yeah.
That's imposter syndrome. We do something that makes us uncomfortable. We step out of our comfort zone. We push ourselves ever so slightly. And then we have this uncomfortable feeling. But instead of saying, oh yes, that's the same as DOMS, that's the ache, that's the reward, that's the signal that I am moving in the right direction or I'm moving towards progress, we go, oh no, it must mean I'm not supposed to be here. It must mean that I'm not good enough. It must mean that everyone thinks I'm a joke. They're going to find out. They're going to find out that I'm not good enough. When actually, quite often, imposter syndrome is a sign that you are now in rooms with people that you could have only dreamed of being in 3 years ago, and that you have so much respect for those people in the room that it feels scary. You don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to do the wrong thing. You don't want to be not accepted.
How are they going to see me if I do this or if I say that, or
I
don't make the cut, or...
Yeah. So imposter syndrome, I don't see it helpful. I get it, and it's a very human, very natural experience, and I'm not telling you not to have it. But what I will do, and I'll always do this, I will never tell people how they should feel, because I don't believe that's my job to do that, and that would be quite an arrogant thing to do, to tell you how you should live your life. But what I would be curious about is how helpful is it for you to have imposter syndrome? But how helpful is it for you to just acknowledge that you're doing something that's a bit scary? Yeah.
Where does it start, though? Would you say it starts in our childhood? Like, because I've noticed with some people that have come into a podcast before and some people I've talked to, there was a point in their childhood that they were doing something that was a bit out of their comfort zone, but I feel like we get more conscious for our comfort zone as we grow up and as we become adults. And there was a point that they were told, like, this is not good enough. And that unraveled years of imposter syndrome, self-sabotage, and all that stuff. Where would you say, or where do you see with the clients they work with, that it truly starts?
Some people know. Like, for example, recently I've been working with somebody who has created a very successful property business and has created it to such a successful level that it kind of operates without them now. So they're getting a little bit bored and they're starting to look at other things and they want to do more public speaking. And they had an experience when they were a child where they stood on a stage and they stuttered and everybody laughed. So they can pinpoint and they can go, okay, I know that I could be good at public speaking. When it's sprung on me without any time to prepare, I usually do really well. But now I've got this thing in 2 weeks and it's in front of the royal family and oh my goodness. And it's all the ingredients, right, of imposter syndrome. And we have to work through that. And I have this thing that I call the 4 A's of behavioural change. And I try not to be prescriptive in any way, but sometimes when you feel overwhelmed, having these anchor focuses can be really helpful because it can get you to focus on one thing instead of everything. So the 4 A's are, the first one is awareness. We have to fully understand what it is that we need to be aware of. What's the problem here? And the problem will hide behind many problems until we get back to it. So imposter syndrome is this very complex, very lots of stories, lots of situations, lots of experiences, all to say at the bottom that I am scared. Yeah, so we need to get to the root of it. So what's the awareness here? The awareness is that I'm scared. I'm terrified that when I stand up there and I talk, that I'm going to fail, that I'm not going to do well.
Scared of failure.
Yeah, scared of failure, scared of rejection. I'm going to forget what I'm going to say. People are going to laugh at me. There's going to be this cringy atmosphere in the room. You see what I'm doing now is I'm starting to create this story. Nothing's happened yet, but I've created this story. I had somebody once that came to me that was doing a TED talk, and they had been working with someone else, and unfortunately that hadn't worked out, and they came to me with something like 4 weeks and I said, okay, right. So that they came on the call, and there was this mad rant, this long, it went everywhere, and it was just like, okay. And then I said, what's the worst thing that can happen? Okay, well, I get up on stage and I just fall over. Right, okay. What happens then? I die. Well, you don't die, not unless you fall off the stage. It's probably be a bit of a misplaced humour there. But and I said, okay, so what happens next? Well, I stand up. Okay, now what? I just run off. Right, okay. Is there any other way this could go? Well, how do you mean? Well, what if you fell over and you stood up and you turn around to the audience and you say, I don't know if anyone just noticed, but I just fell over. What do you think will happen? Well, they'll probably laugh. Okay, great icebreaker. What I'm trying to get at is that conversation went on and on and on to the point where she actually the worst thing in the world that could have ever happened was that she fell over. Now she's actually thinking about doing it on purpose because she thinks it might be a really great way to start, and that it actually might get her more attention and views and all of these things. So gaining awareness around what the actual problem is really important, because then we start to really look at what is the problem, because we can't find solutions to things unless we can identify what the problem is. The next one is accountability. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Does that mean that I want you to take the blame, that I want you to be responsible for something that you shouldn't be because someone else did something? Look, there are things in our life that we would like to happen, and somebody else is the only person that can make it happen. So, fine. But could you do it? No, but they should do it. They should do it. Okay, they should. You're right. You're absolutely right. They should do it, but they're not going to. What now? So where can we take accountability? But it's not my place to take accountability. It's not my fault. Okay, I know that. But how can we take accountability? How can we empower ourselves? How can we take back power in a situation where we feel powerless? How can we do that? Oh, well, I suppose I could do this. Right, okay, what would happen then? Well, then this would happen. And actually, yeah, that makes sense. Now we're starting to move towards a solution. So awareness, accountability. The next one is acceptance. Hardest thing to do in the world. It's the word that we all dread. We know it's coming because it's quite honestly, most of the time it's the only thing we can do.
Yeah.
So what is acceptance? Well, what are you replaying in your head? What are you thinking about constantly? What are you obsessing over so much because you really want it to be different, but you have absolutely no control or influence over it at all? Because that is a literal waste of your time and your energy and your efforts, and it's feeding your imposter syndrome, it's feeding your rejection, it's feeding all of these negative, unhelpful emotions. So people say to me all the time, Johnny, I'm trying to accept, I'm working on it. And I say, well, there's the problem. What do you mean? What do you mean there's the problem? Well, if you're working on something and you're trying and you're wrestling and you're doing all of these things, you're doing something. Acceptance isn't a doing word. There is no action. You just have to accept things exactly as they are. You don't do anything.
There's no resistance.
No, if you're doing something, you're trying to change it, which is not the game. That's not acceptance. That's changing. So we have to accept something as it is. And some days we can unaccept things as long as we re-accept them, hungry, tired, whatever, we get ourselves in a bit of a tiz. And people misunderstand what I mean when I say acceptance. So here's an example. My father was a very violent man, and he beat and tortured us as children. That happened. I watched him hurt my brothers, my sister, and my mother in really quite horrible ways. He did the same to me. So let's put the question to me. Do I accept that my father did those things? No, I don't. Okay, but you just said I need to accept it. The thing is, an event happens in our life. We can't go back in time and change what happened. We try in our mind, but we can't do it. It's impossible. So what are we wrestling with? What are we fighting against? What are we trying to accept? We're trying to accept how we feel about it. In those moments, multiple moments, one significant moment, whichever, there is an emotional imprint that is stamped on us. It's an emotion, let's call it fear. I was terrified. Okay, so now whenever I experience any variation of fear, I have a similar reaction, which creates similar responses, which creates similar behaviors. And then I call it self-sabotage, right? So what do I need to accept? I can accept that when I was a child, that I was helpless and I was scared. Okay, now we're on the path to acceptance.
So you had to go back there to see the situation in a very different lens.
Well, not even different. I had to be aware of what happened. I had to take accountability for anything within it. So my accountability was that I was 4, 6, 8. I was accountable for being a child, had no power, I had no autonomy. It's not that I didn't do anything, it's that I couldn't do anything. Yeah, that's different. And then I had to accept the emotions that I had around it. Because here's the thing, if I don't accept it, then I can't change it. If I don't accept it, it doesn't belong to me. If it doesn't belong to me, then I have no business trying to change anything. I have to own my emotions. I have to own how I feel. Do I want to feel that way? No, of course I don't. That's why I'm wanting to change it. But I have to own it first. I think life is very difficult, and unspeakable things happen to people, things that we don't want to be true. So our mind is a clever thing. It doesn't want to accept what is true, so it creates this narrative in its head that we can accept. And then we sell that version of the truth to other people so we can buy it back off of them. You know, I could tell you anything right now and essentially you would believe it, right? Because why would I lie? But it doesn't have to be true. I might not even know it's not true. I might have been living with this narrative for such a long time that I believe it too now because I've bought it off of so many people that I've sold it to. So we have awareness, accountability, acceptance, and then the last one, action. What do we do? And here's the thing, sometimes the answer is do nothing, you know, which is hard for some people, a lot of people. So, and what do we do is informed by all of these things. Well, what was the problem? What can I have influence over? What don't I have influence over? The way you accept something is by focusing what you can be accountable for. Mm-hmm. It's not much fun when someone says to you, don't think about this thing. That's not helpful. You know, telling somebody, like, it's like telling somebody, oh, you need to lose weight. They know that.
Or get over it.
Yeah, or just cheer up, or, you know, one of those other remarks. But that's like watching someone run a race. They come second and you say, you should have run faster. It's the most unhelpful statement in the world. Of course they should. They didn't though, did they? You know. So what I'm always looking for is helpful ways of understanding ourselves. Because once we understand ourselves, we can start to implement choice. You know, if you are just walking into rooms and things are just happening around you, you're behaving in certain ways and you have no control, there is no point where you can stop and choose to do it differently. You're just caught up in the swell of it all. Think of it like being caught in the ocean and you're at the mercy of the waves and you're trying to fight your way through. You've got a course, you want to get there, so you're fighting your way through. When they say often, just let the tide take you, you know. So, yeah.
Why do you think, I mean, I've been doing a lot of research on this. Why do you think a lot of people nowadays struggle to fully feel their emotions and to fully name their emotions, positive or negative?
Why do I think they feel that way?
Why do you think it's such a struggle?
Because a lot of people don't want to feel the way they feel, probably. And we live in a world where social media is telling us how we feel, telling us that we're not good enough so they can sell us something. And I think at the root of it all as well is we don't have any emotional education. Very often our parents aren't able to teach it to us. It's not that they didn't, it's that they didn't know how. And I think what can happen at a base level, whenever I work with anybody, what I'm most interested in the beginning is what are their core values and what are the belief systems that they're running. You know, there are many different types of belief systems, but I work primarily keeping it simple with limiting beliefs, beliefs that limit you, and growth beliefs, ones that propel you forward. Now, if you think of it like your mobile phone, right? Your mobile phone, if it didn't have an operating system, what would it be? It would just be a completely useless object. But because of its operating system, it allows you to communicate, it allows you to find knowledge, it allows you to be entertained, it allows you to do so many things. You can listen, you can watch, you can do all of these different things. So the operating system is important, right? Every now and again, your phone will say to you, update, but you're always using it, you're really busy, you're so tired at the end of the day, you forget to do the update overnight, and you wake up in the morning, and then days, weeks go by. After a little while, WhatsApp's not working anymore, Instagram's not working anymore, things keep turning themselves off and turning themselves back on again. Chaos is coming, right? Think of that like our values. Think of yourself as you're the hardware and your values are your operating system. And when your values no longer align with the person you've become or you've changed, then chaos. Things stop working, communication starts going wrong, and things don't work anymore. So our values update us. So when we update our values, we are then able to recognize the emotions we're experiencing. You know, if you try to do something with an old operating system on your phone, it doesn't work, right? So when we update our values, our core values, the things that we feel offer us, the things we value the most, if they change and you're still running an old operating system, how are you ever going to identify how you feel? You're probably not.
No. I think it's also like, I think also what you're talking about right now is also like the being in the in-between, where like you are becoming like a new person with like a new set of values, a new hardware, software, whatever you want to call it, but you're still not there. But then you look back and you're not the same person. So it can also create some cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
On like who I am really, who am I? Like, have you had any experiences with your clients or even yourself where you've been in this transitioning phase, and like how did you get yourself out of it?
Honestly, I'm probably in one of those phases now. You know, I've been doing this for a long time, and they say it takes you 20 years to become an overnight success. You know, all of a sudden, lots of people are interested in what I'm doing, and it's great. But for a very long time, I was just talking to myself. It felt like, you know, and nobody cared. And you put that in with all of the belief systems and value systems that I was probably taught as a child by my father, the worthlessness, the rejection, the never being good enough, the fear, all of those different things. And as I said to you before we recorded, that developing stairway of self-development, it's very often the same problem over and over again, just magnified, because now we have different catalysts for change. You know, if I put a podcast, well, let's take you for example. If you put a podcast out, first one, 10 people listen, it's okay. 10 people listen, yay, I'm happy with that. No problem. After a little while, you know, 10,000 people listen. Now we're starting to get opinions. Now we're starting to get concerns. Now we're starting to get worried. Now it's the same problem, you know. In the beginning, you were a little bit like one person says, oh, you know, I don't really agree with what so-and-so says, and it cuts you deep, and you're like, oh, God, why not? Now we've got a whole bunch of other people at this end, but it feels even more real because there's more of them, and the platform's bigger, and more people are seeing it, more eyes are on you, and that's what's happening to me right now. You know, this year I'll be speaking at the Happy Place Festival with Fern Cotton, and I would be lying if I didn't say I had imposter syndrome going on. You know, I say it doesn't exist. I'm scared. You know, I'm scared that it's going to go wrong. But at the same time, I'm not. I'm excited because I know it's going to be okay. I know that I'm going to go up there because here's the thing. The thing that saves me every time is when I work with a client, I do not think it's my job, my responsibility to tell them how they feel, to tell them what to do, to give them advice. That's not my job. My job is to hold a mirror up and reflect back to them what they are saying. And then maybe I might choose more helpful words to relate it back to them. Maybe I might offer a slight little perspective change. What if? Maybe I might do that. But one day they'll look in that mirror and they'll see exactly what's true. And they'll either like it or not like it, but then we're dealing with the truth. And that's where we go through the A's and we work it through. When I go and do public speaking, it's a privilege. It's an exciting moment for me to tell these people something they don't know that's going to help them, that's going to make them sit there and think, oh my God, I never thought about it that way. And if that means that, then that means, oh my gosh, all these breakthroughs happening all at once. It's a real privilege. And that's what I come back to. I come back to what I was saying to you before. Are we operating out of fear or are we operating out of need? I believe that human beings are motivated primarily by two things, fear or need. Fear will tell us, do it, don't do it. This thing's going to happen, not going to happen. And it's going to direct and dictate our behavior. It's going to feel like a demand. Need is, okay, what do I need from this? I need to go out here and I need to be myself. I don't need to try and be anybody else. I need to come out here and I need to tell them this exciting stuff that I've got to tell them. And I'm going to watch their faces and I'm going to engage with the room. I'm not going to bore them to death with a PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to have a conversation with this room and I'm going to talk to people. I'm going to look at them. I'm going to see them. I'm going to hear them. I'm going to ask them questions. I'm going to create an experience that's going to stay with them forever and I cannot wait. You know, that's the difference. I'm going to go in there because I'm really smart and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to convince the whole room how smart I am. I'm going to teach you that I'm smarter than you and that I've got all the answers. That doesn't sound like a good plan.
How can we turn fear into our greatest power? Is there a way?
Well, I said it to you before. Fear is the exact ingredient needed to be brave. If we're not scared when we're being brave, then we're not being brave. We're just doing stuff. You know, so we're scared. Okay, we're going to do it anyway. We're going to do it scared. We're going to use that fear as fuel, and we're going to move forward, and we're going to keep going. But I don't know what's going to happen. I'm really anxious. Truth is, we never know what's going to happen, right? You could have set this all up today and sat and waited, and I could have just not shown up. That could have happened. It wouldn't, but it could have happened. So we never know what's going to happen. So let's operate on that all the time. We never know what's going to happen. How exciting. That must mean life's an adventure, right? And that we just go along with it and we roll with the punches. So we use that fear as fuel and we become brave. However, that still means we're operating from a place of fear. What do we need? What do we need to happen? Not what am I scared of happening or not happening. What do I need to happen? I need and I hear it all the time, an influencer would say to me that I'm going to work for 3 days on this post and if just one person gets something from the post, I'll be happy. Okay, that sounds lovely. That sounds like something you want to be true. But that's not true, is it? You don't want just one, but you're not going to be happy. You're not going to pat yourself on the back knowing that just one person has seen your post. So we have to be honest. We have to be, what do you really need from this? Okay, I want this. What is that? Okay, I want it to go viral. Okay, why do you need it to go viral? Because that will make me feel like I'm progressing. Progressing towards what? You see, we keep working until we get to the thing. And quite often we get to an area where it gets frustrating, gets really annoying that I'm asking all these questions because you don't really know the answers. That's exactly where we need to be. We get to explore who we really are and what we really want and what's really driving us to move forward. Quite often we don't identify what that is. So we're going to default to fear, right? Because if I don't know what I want, then I'm just going to operate from a place where I know what I don't want and what I'm scared of happening. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to do things to avoid that from happening. No, I want to actually make something happen, not avoid something. I don't want to avoid failure. I want to be successful. It's different, you know?
Why do you think so many people hold themselves back from truly going all in on themselves?
They operate from fear. Perfectionism is fear. Perfectionism, you can't be perfect. It's impossible. I could say to you, this bottle's perfect, and you'll say, no, it's not. I don't like the blue. Right, cool. Then it's not perfect, because not everyone's agreeing. So what are we doing when we're looking at perfectionism? We're not trying to be perfect. We're trying to avoid failure. That's what we're doing. We're scared of failure. Procrastination. I'm scared of an unknown outcome. What's the outcome? Well, it could be successful. What does that mean? I've never been successful before. What if it is successful? What if they expect me to do this? What if they expect me to do that? Oh, that sounds really scary. I'm just going to procrastinate. What if I'm not successful? Oh, I failed. It means I can't do it. And what does that mean? It's better just to not do it, right? To procrastinate, to find ways to not do it. I had that experience with my book. When I was writing my book, I got stuck very close to near the end. And I said to my wife one day, I need you to really help me get this done because I'm procrastinating. I don't know why. And she's like, right, okay, no problem. So in the morning she says, what are you going to do today, babe? I said, I'm going to write my book. I'm going to do the last chapter. Right, okay, cool. She goes out for a couple of hours. She comes back. The entire living room is hoovered. All the washing up is done. The floor is mopped, and I'm talking about getting the leaf blower out. She's like, write the book. I'm like, okay, cool, yeah. So I was procrastinating hard because I was scared. What if no one buys my book? What if nobody cares? What if it becomes really big and everyone wants to talk to me? Scary, don't want to do it. So I'm operating from fear.
Isn't this funny though?
Yeah.
It's funny, like, as you were talking, it's just crazy how our brain and our minds work. We are designed to be in survival mode. We're not designed to be in thriving mode or to like really make it big in life. But it's like you're doing it because you truly wanted to be successful. But at the same time, you're terrified it's going to be successful. But isn't that why you're doing it? Isn't that why you're putting in the work?
That's life. Life is a contradiction quite often. Two things are true at the same time. That cognitive dissonance is there for a reason because we sabotage ourselves from the things that we say we want. And again, I think that's because we haven't truly identified what we need from this situation. What do we need from this? What childhood wound are we trying to heal by being famous or well known or well respected or acknowledged or recognized? What are we doing here? It's really hard to admit that because then that means you've still got that wound that you don't want. And that's the thing, like the most devastating statement I can hear from somebody is, I'm all fixed. It's like, oh dear. Oh dear, you're all fixed, are you? Right, well, here's my number. Call me when it happens. Because something really big's about to happen. You're about to realize you're not fixed and you never are. And I'm not sure that's the game. And I'm not overly sure that we get to heal those childhood wounds.
Really?
I think we get to understand them. I think we get to work with them. Quite often you'll hear people very confidently saying, no, I don't do that anymore. And then quietly in the back of their life, they're freaking out because their partner hasn't texted them back. The same things are always going on, and it's okay. And this is the thing. We drop the resistance, we drop the false narratives, we stop the lying to ourselves, and we just accept what is true about us. That is real power. That is real. That's being human. Accepting yourself fully. Accepting the things about yourself that you love. Also accepting things about yourself that you wish were different. You don't hate them, but you do wish you didn't do that. I do wish I could just switch it off. I do wish I could just chill. I do wish I could just care more about this or care less about that. I do wish I could do that, but I don't. But I'll keep telling people I do, and one day maybe I'll believe it, but I won't. And this is the thing, what do I really want? I probably want some validation. I probably want to be recognized, seen. I probably want that because I didn't have that at all. Nothing I did was ever good enough. In fact, it was punished just for being me. That's a really hard place to come back from.
Yeah.
And that's why I accept who I am fully. That's why I won't allow anybody to put me on a pedestal or tell me that I have answers for them, because I don't. I don't want that pressure.
For people that are intrigued on the childhood trauma and healing your inner child, I do agree we will never be fully healed. But for the people that are watching, how can they start taking steps towards starting to work on their inner child wounds so they don't bleed into their life, their career, how they interact with people? Where would they start?
Well, as a coach, my focus helping people is to ask them what they want. What do they want out of life? Where do they want to go? What direction do they want to go? And then they'll tell me all the things they don't want, all the things that they dislike about their past and all those things. We have to understand that past. But as I said, we cannot change what happened. We cannot change what happened. So the first step really, I suppose, is finding some way of understanding what really happened so we can accept it. Not the event, the emotions. So what are the emotions that we experienced? Did we feel, so we have primary emotion. Let's say you're angry. Yeah, you're angry. And you go to anger management classes and you focus intently on the anger all of the time. I'm always angry. Things make me angry. I'm an angry person. You're really starting to embody this anger now. But what if I said to you, that anger is a secondary emotion. It's a reaction to the real emotion that you don't want to have. So a primary emotion, which is what you're ultimately having, is an emotion that is so sensitive, so unbelievably painful, that if you can choose to have a different emotion instead, you absolutely will. You will have this secondary emotion because it's easier to have. So you're having anger because what? Because you feel scared, because you feel helpless. That's the big one. When people feel helpless, by definition, there's nothing they can do. And they do not want to feel that way. They don't want to feel powerless. They don't want to feel like they've got no control. They're desperately trying to find a way to be back in control again. I know, I'll be angry, because then I can say stuff and I can throw stuff and I can be angry and I can feel empowered. But you're not. You're just avoiding the helplessness. Now, if we get to the helplessness, and that's often a moment where I sit there, myself included. So you were helpless, Johnny. Teetering on the edge of emotion, break. Yeah, I was helpless. I couldn't do anything. I really wanted to stop it from happening, but I couldn't. Right. So I was helpless. So now I'm scrambling. What can I grab? What emotion can I grab to stop feeling helpless? No. Be helpless. Be helpless. Accept that you were helpless, that you couldn't do anything. Cry. Be sad. Acknowledge you were helpless. You couldn't do anything. That's really hard for you. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay, now I'm accepting what really happened. Now I'm starting to, okay, so I was helpless. So that's why I've got procrastination. That's why I've got perfectionism. That's why I've got all these things, because I'm trying to create the perfect world so that I can never feel helpless again. Because I don't want to be helpless. Don't like being helpless. Okay, what if we just accepted being helpless? And remember I said, there's no action. Like asking you to do nothing, that's so difficult. So what shall I do? Nothing. But I want to do something. I know you do. It drives you crazy, right? But once you start to accept, and it feels like a full cup and it's bubbling like a volcano, but as you sit with it and you don't try to change it, it will simmer down. It will simmer down. Things will happen that will trigger it and fire it back up again. But you're aware of it, right? You have that awareness and you can go, okay, whenever I'm around that person, I feel really helpless. Okay, so what can I do about that? Maybe I don't need to be around that person anymore. Okay, right. Maybe I come up with something I'm going to say to make that interaction really, really brief. Maybe I tell somebody, say, listen, I don't like working with Colin. It's not enough. I don't want a big deal made out of it, but is it possible I can work with somebody else? Something like that, Because I've come up with this model. It's called the MADE model. And in the coming months, I'm going to be releasing a course around it online and all these different things. And I believe, and again, I'm not telling people how to feel or what to do, but I believe there are 4 areas that if you look into, you will find what you need. And you will start to move away from the self-sabotaging emotions and actions and behaviors and more towards the self-development. And again, it's a journey. So the MADE model is an acronym for morals, ambitions, drivers, and environments. Morals are your values, your core values, and your belief systems. You really come to terms with what they are, so you know what to say yes to, what to say no to, you know what you like, what you don't like. You start to direct your life in the places you want to go, not where you feel you should or someone told you should or whatever. You're now starting to live with a bit of intention. The next is ambitions. What do you want? Oh, I just want. No, what do you really want? The thing you're embarrassed to tell me, the thing that sounds ridiculous, but it is true. That's what you want. Okay, what do you want? Well, I kind of want this. Okay, right. So I kind of want this. That doesn't sound like it's going to happen. That sounds like you'd like it to happen. It doesn't sound like it's going to happen. So how can we make that happen? How can we start living our values and our beliefs and aiming them things towards this goal, this ambition that we have? How can we do that? Okay, good. Now we're moving towards what we want. We wake up in the morning, we know what the goals are, we know what to say yes to, what to say no to. Drivers, why do you want this? What does it give you? What does it give you? You know, because that's important, because not every day is going to be easy. You're not going to always want to wake up and podcast. You're not going to always want to wake up and do the gym. You're not going to always want to wake up and do whatever it is you do every day. Some days you're tired and you want to stay in bed, so you're going to need to know what drives you, and you're going to need to tap into that. Because when you think about that thing that you want, you go, okay, get up. And you get up and you get on with it, you know?
Sometimes the pain of staying in where you are right now is what drives you even forward.
Sometimes it is. Pain can be. Suffering for me is a value, which is a bit crazy. But the last of those things is environment. Who are the people, places and things that are either moving you towards what you want and supporting the person you want to become, or taking away? The people in your lives that tell you you're not good enough, you can't do this, you're making a fool of yourself, this is ridiculous, I couldn't do that, blah, 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 all of those things. The places you go that just, you hate them, you don't want to be there ever. Why are you going then? Is there something we can do about changing this, you know? And then the things in your life, the distractions, trying to write a book. Oh, ping, Instagram, I'll just procrastinate with this then for 10 minutes. You know, those things, you know? Morals, ambitions, drivers, environments. They're the areas that you need to look into if you want to heal and move forward. You know, and as I said, I don't know that healing's ultimately possible, but life's about the effort we put in, right? And the reality we're living.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about self-worth and success. Because I feel like these two go hand in hand together. When do we know that the decisions we're making in our lives are driven from a value-based system instead of trying to prove your worth kind of way? Because the outcome will be quite different, I believe.
Well, you've nailed that, because I think, I'm not sure if it's my view or not really, I'm not sure, but our worth is often directed towards our values, what we value. Listen to the words worth, value, you know, what we value in life. Are we living that every day, or are we not? Because if you wake up and you have a day where you don't live any of your values, in fact, you live the complete opposite, you're a very charitable person, but your job is a debt collector. It's not going to feel great, you know? So I think, what is self-worth? Self-worth, self-confidence, self-esteem. It's about your reputation with yourself. That's what it is. It's, if you had a friend and every time you went to meet up with them, they cancelled on you, they didn't show up, how long would they be a friend of yours?
Oh, okay. A few years ago, they would be. Today, no.
But
I will just love them from afar.
So when they were in your life, when they text you, am I right in thinking that you had some anxiety because there was a small part of you that knew they were going to cancel and you were just kind of waiting for them to do it, and it made you feel a bit crap because...
Yeah, but I also realized that when people were not showing up for my life, it was also because I was not showing up for myself.
And that's the point of this whole thing.
Yeah.
If you tell yourself tomorrow morning that you're going to get up and go to the gym at 7 o'clock, and then you wake up in the morning and you decide to sleep in for 15 minutes, what you've just told yourself is you're full of shit. That's what you've just done. You've just let your first action of the day was to let yourself down. Now, we can talk semantically and say, oh, well, you know, it was 7 o'clock and I was tired. Okay, so why didn't you say 8 o'clock then? Why didn't you do that instead? I don't know, you know, but the point is, we have to practice, and that's an important word. Practice removes the pressure of perfection. We're practicing. When we go to the gym, we're not trying to be the perfect gym goer. We're practicing the movements, and we're hoping, well, we're not hoping, we've got a plan, we've got an intention, right? But every day we want to practice those behaviors that make us proud to be who we are. You know, who am I? I'm a person that when I say I'm going to do things, I do it. I show up for myself. I don't choose other people over me. I don't let myself down. You know, I go to the gym and I look after my body because I respect my body. I try to nurture my mind by finding knowledge and reading or watching documentaries or TED Talks, whatever it is. There's always a variation of being able to do those things. I'm out there trying to provide a good life for myself by earning as much money as I can. You know, I'm building great relationships in my life. I'm really cherishing people around me that are important to me. I'm looking after them and I'm nurturing and I'm showing up. I'm creating a person that I'm proud to be. Now I've got some self-worth. But instead, some people, they sit, and I don't say this in a horrible sense because I have an immense amount of empathy for the person that might be in this position, but they sit in dark rooms, nurturing the way they feel. They feel down, they feel low, and I know how that feels. I went through it just recently when I came back from Kilimanjaro. I had a really lull period where I was just burned out, and with all the knowledge I have and all the things I know, what did I do for a day? I sat in a dark room and watched a serial killer documentary. It's like, what am I even doing? You know, and this is it. This is being human. That's the truth. That's what happened. But sometimes it feels like we fell down a well and we're falling and we're falling and we look up and the well entrance exit is getting further and further away. We're feeling more and more helpless, more and more that we can't do anything. And we're falling into this dark, cold, wet, horrible place. And then someone will say to you, why don't you go and see some friends? Why don't you just, you know, start eating a bit healthier? Why don't you go out for a walk?
Is that depression?
Yeah, I think it probably is. But you get angry when you hear that. You're like, oh yeah, because a walk's going to help. Seeing my friends are going to help. I'm not very good company. See, them actions, they're not to stop you from being depressed. They are to reduce how far you fall down the well. Because at some point, you've got to climb back out of the well. So how far you fall down that well is so important. So by pushing yourself to do those things, even when you don't want to, is important. What pulled me out of my depression, low point, whichever you want to call it? Well, I forced myself to go to the gym and I hated it. I was swearing. I was like, oh, I don't want to do this today. What's the point? Blah, blah, blah. All of these different things. I can get myself in that position because I climbed a massive mountain and I was away from my family. I was in an environment I didn't recognize. I was eating food I didn't recognize. I had an altitude sickness. I was with people I'd not been with before. I was climbing a mountain. It was hard. All of it was really hard and I had to hold it together for 10 days. And then I got back and wondered why I felt a bit low. Well, I had to ride it out. But what pulled me out of it, I started going to the gym. I started watching what I eat. All I wanted to eat was sugar and chocolate and watch TV, and I didn't. I've made myself not do it. I got outside with the dogs every day and did some walking. In the first 7 days, I didn't want to do it. Every day I woke up hoping that tomorrow would feel different. And then one day I did. I woke up and I was like, it's gone. I feel better.
That you got yourself out of that position.
Yeah, I climbed out the well, which is really hard. And there were a couple of times where I slipped back down again. But what I wasn't doing was continuing to fall. I wasn't keep falling down the well day after day after day after day because it gets so much harder to get out of the well when you get really low, you know. Now, what I'm trying to say is, and I have absolutely, and there'll be people that hear this and they go, oh yeah, it's as simple as that, Johnny, right? You just outthink it, right? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it will be difficult, you know, but stop looking for the hack, stop looking for the fix or anything like that. And it's just about, what do I want to feel like instead? I don't want to feel like this. And there is a bit of faking it to make it in the beginning. You know, but it's that effort we put into life. I have this thing I call the EAT principles: effort, attitude, and truth. How much effort am I putting in? None. I'm just sat here hoping I feel better. Okay, what attitude have I got? Well, I'm watching serial killer documentaries, so it's probably not a good one. What truth have I got? Well, I'm not owning how I feel at all. I'm not owning what's going on at all. I'm making up stories. I'm saying, oh, maybe this, maybe that. I know what it is. I know what's going on.
Why did you think it was difficult for you to own up how you were feeling?
Because there's still a part of me that doesn't enjoy the feeling of feeling helpless and weak, vulnerable. Don't want to feel like that. I want to feel strong. Whenever I felt vulnerable in the past, it's been risky, you know. So I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna be down and I'm not gonna own my. Again, in order for us to heal and change how we feel, we have to own it first. I'm pretty vulnerable right now when I get back from the mountain. I'm burned out. I'm really physically tired. I'm mentally tired. I want everyone to just leave me alone for a little bit. I need to recharge. But I've got children who are excited to see me, so I pick myself up. Oh, I've really missed you. I've got a wife that wants to spend time with me. I've got friends that want to hear about the trip. I've got work demands, podcasts, courses, all sorts of things to do. I can't stop. So I'll just pretend it's not happening instead until I have no choice. Because this is what our bodies do, right? But what I'm ultimately getting to is that we can pull ourselves out of those things, and unfortunately it is on us. We can have antidepressants and anxiety medication. My personal belief, and it is just my personal belief, there are people that absolutely need to be on those things for reasons. But for most of us, it's a crutch. If you break your leg, you need a crutch, but you're not going to be on the crutch for the rest of your life. You're strengthening those muscles, and you're having that support and that reassurance to get you into a place where you can work towards being able to walk without the crutch again. And that's what an antidepressant is in my world. For me, it's something that you take when you feel you've hit rock bottom, the bottom of the well, and you need something to take that edge off so you can just feel strong enough to start climbing back out again. And at some point, the goal must be to come off of those things and be back in control again. And it's a hard journey, and I can understand why people don't want to do it or don't feel like they can. That's difficult, but you can do it. You absolutely can do it.
It's so interesting you're saying this, because I was in the bottom of the well. When was it? I think around 6 weeks ago. I was just going through a lot of stuff, a lot of changes, a lot of like a lot of career transitions, a lot of like the bold moment of like what I've been doing, like, isn't what I want to do. I was like, who am I really? What am I here to do? And I was also going through a lot of heartbreak, a lot of grief with family, and I just didn't realize how far deep I was into the well until like there was this one night. I don't think I'll ever forget this, but that was the moment that broke me so I could break through. Because I kind of feel like when you're in that position, you need to let yourself break so you can break through and gain strength to get back up. And I remember, like, I'm Christian, so I remember it was 1:35 a.m. Like, I will remember it so vividly. And I was like on my knees praying and crying, and I was saying to God, if this is all that's gonna be, if this is just what you have for me, just let me fall completely. Just let me fall completely. Like, because like I just could not see it, but I had believed that if that was it, that was going to be it. But then there was something in me that was like, but if there's a slight change, like if there's like a slight, very, very slight rope to get out of this, just hand me the rope. Like, I don't care what you want me to do. I don't care what I need to do. I don't care if you want me to do things that I'm not prepared to do. Just hand me the rope, because I promise you, like, I cannot get myself out of this. And then I was crying for another 3 hours later, and then I went to sleep. And then the next day I woke up, I did my prayer, I did my devotional. I started going to a gym. I started booking more people for the podcast. And then I received a call from my mom, which is very rare, but I received a call from my mom. She's like, Geni, you're so young. You have a whole life ahead of you, and we love you so much, but you need to be there for you, and like you need to fulfill all the things that you want to fulfill for your life. And I feel like that was the moment where I'm like, that's the rope. Okay, I got the rope. Okay, let me just climb up again. And now that I've like looking back on that, like things are getting so much better. Like even my friends like, Geni, like you're like, it's you again. And like things are happening, things are growing, amazing opportunities that I would never even dream of ever in my life are happening now. But I needed that rope. But with that, I realized like there was a choice there to be made by me. Because like you either stay on the bottom, and what happens if you stay there, it's just not good, or you just need sometimes like a slight rope. Like faith for me was that saved, like my saving grace, and you need to realize that you can get yourself out of it. You just need to start climbing. Even if you fall back, but I needed to break for me to realize, like, to release everything that was going on, and for me to realize, like, okay, there's no more rock bottom than this. I'm just gonna start climbing up. So I really, really appreciate your story because I really relate to it too.
So for a chicken to be born, what has to happen? Egg has to break. For a plant to grow, a seed has to break. Things do have to break in order for sometimes you to break through and you to get through it. That's why not everybody's where you are. Because not everybody wants to break through. It's hard. It's really difficult. Your psyche comes at you with every single insecurity you've ever had. And it challenges you and it says, you sure? You sure you want this? A story I often tell, I climbed Mount Tupkal a couple of years back and I got really bad altitude sickness. And it was horrible. Felt like my body was attacking me. Didn't know if I had a headache or a stomach ache. It was really bad. I felt awful. And I was climbing up and my team had gone off ahead of me. It was just me and this former SAS guy who was looking after me, if I'm honest. And we get to this point where he says, you know, we'd left at 2 a.m. in the morning in the dark to get to the summit for 7 so we could see the sun come up over the Sahara Desert. Obviously, I wasn't going to make that. And he said to me on this ridge, he said, Johnny, up or down? And in that moment, I was like, I'd been hoping the whole way up that things would change. I hadn't committed fully. I didn't know if I was going to go back down or go to the top. I was just hoping that something would change, that things would be okay. And that wasn't a plan. There was no intention there. I was just going up there trying to ignore how I was feeling. My body was really letting me down in so many different ways. And he says to me, up or down? He's forcing me to decide. So I'm like, oh, I'm really ill. What do I do? I can see the summit. Oh, what do I do? And it felt like an age. And I said, up. He said, okay. And even though it was 3 steps and stop, I knew what I had to do. I had made that decision and I had accepted the pain. I'd accepted the discomfort. And I said, no matter what, I'm going to keep putting one foot in front of the other and I'm going to keep aiming for that goal. And that's what I'm going to do. And it felt horrendous. 3 steps, stop. 3 steps, stop. I was leaning on my walking pole and I was being sick and all sorts of things. But when I got to the top, I cannot put into words, I got full goosebumps, the emotion that I experienced at the top. It just came over me. I couldn't believe that I got to the top. I didn't know if I could or couldn't, but what I'd made the decision, I'm going to get to the top. I'm going to keep stepping forward. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to keep stepping forward. I cannot articulate to you the power of deciding that you're going to climb out the well. Make the decision. Are you going to sit here or are you going to climb out? But it's hard, it's cold, and I might fall. Yeah, you might. But keep climbing. Don't stop. Keep working hard. Keep doing the things that you know help. Keep moving towards what you want. And when you get there, the most incredible things happen. I'd imagine you're not in the same place you were 6 weeks ago.
No, I'm actually going to the States for the first time because of this podcast, record podcast over there, which was a dream. And now it's like I'm going there and I'm like, how did that even happen? Like, I don't know, like I'm launching a new business that I'm really, really passionate about helping people like to not go through what I went through, or like to navigate it a little bit better, and just to align themselves with the vision and their business so they can actually live a life of purpose. And if I would not have been at the bottom of the well, I would not have the same perspective, but I would not have the same resilience either. So I would not change it. And it's very different. And I feel like a lot of people, they underestimate themselves, but they also underestimate what can happen in a month. It's like they set a goal. It's like, oh yeah, I want that goal. Okay, let me see in a year, in 6 months. Or no, if you set that goal and you can, let's set 90 days or 60 days. If there's no more time left for you to achieve that goal than in those 60 days, what's going to happen? Your brain it's going to be like, oh, we don't have more time to achieve this goal, so we're just going to do whatever it's needed to do. Like, we're going to stretch ourselves to get to a goal in 60 days. And then you will realize, like, oh, so I could do it, and I could do it in way less time.
Yeah.
Why do I keep just postponing it, just like to feel safe, to have enough time to... It's like, no, just want something, just set a realistic timeline, but always make it a bit shorter, because it's insane what the mind can do. It's not even ourselves sometimes. It's like our subconscious, and being really in tune with what we feel, why we feel it, what we need, what we want, and then who do we really want to be. Because I always say this, like we were all born with an identity. Like, it's an identity that God gives us, like whatever you want to call it, but like we are all made to create an amazing life for ourselves. The problem is that a lot of people operate on fear, and then it's like the survival kicks in. But like, you don't see, like, for example, when I heard Tony Robbins' story about him not being able to like have money for food, or not being able to know how he was going to pay rent, or sleeping in the car, and like all that stuff, where is he now? He also probably has fears, right? Like, we all do, but it's being able to like rewire that part of you that's like, I do feel it and I do want it, so I'm gonna make it happen.
It's that gun to the head analogy, isn't it? It's the, I can't do it, what about now? You know, it's something I heard once, but I remember, look, I think the bottom line is, it's about not giving up. Now, there are certain things in life where maybe the solution is to give up. When I say don't give up, I mean don't give up on yourself. I was 16 years old. I was living in a council flat in a really rough estate because my father had been so violent one day. I walked in on an incident between my father, my mum and my brother, and he was raining down on my brother while my mum was shielding him with a slipper. And I don't know what happened. I was 16 years old, and I just leapt forward and pulled him off. And in that moment, I realized something. I'm not helpless anymore. And that terrified me. Terrified my mum. She was like, oh no, like, one of you's going to do something one day and it's not going to be good, so maybe you should move out. And a lot of people say, oh, why did you move out? Listen, my dad wasn't going anywhere. So I moved out. It was the right decision. Anyway, I was working 3 jobs. I was working a couple of pubs, bringing in the papers, and actually 4 jobs at times. I was also working in a supermarket, doing the shelves in the evenings. And I was walking back one day about 11 o'clock down this alley. And I was crying my eyes out because I was 17 years old and I was working 4 jobs and I had no money, none. I had a gas meter. You'd have to go and buy a card and put it into the gas meter, 10 quid, 20 quid, and that's how much gas you had, and I had none. And I was like, I can't cook. I can't stay warm. I've got nothing. Like, life can't be this hard. I'm 17 years old. And I was crying, and I'm not saying I was suicidal or anything, but I was definitely having feelings of giving up. It was hard, really hard. And then this happened. This is the truth. I walked around the corner, and on the floor was £20. Like, goosebumps, because that's what happened. And I looked around, and I couldn't see anybody. And I just looked up, and I was like, oh my God. Like, what? What? You know, unfortunately, the shops are closed, but that's hope right there. Because what I say to people is, never give up, because you don't know what's around the corner. Round that next corner could be your version of that £20. You just don't know. There's this meme I've seen where there's these 2 guys tunneling through, and this one guy gives up and this other guy keeps going, and just before he gives up on the other side, what he can't see is he's just about to get where he wants to go. You know? So never give up on yourself. You don't know what's going to happen, and that's what we have to remember. We don't know what's going to happen. We like to construct these realities in our minds to appease our anxiety, but it's not real, because we're not fortune tellers. You don't know what's going to happen. So never give up on yourself, and it sounds like that's what you did. You didn't give up on yourself. You had a really uncomfortable moment. You embraced it. I mean, that might sound like an understatement, but
Yeah.
You embraced that discomfort. You sat in that discomfort, which was really hard. You didn't try to escape through addiction or any other methods. You just sat with it, and it was excruciating, and you didn't feel like you were going to get through it. But here's the thing, you did. And so did I, you know? So
Amen to that.
Take something from that.
Amazing. I think that's a good way to finish the episode. Thank you so much, Johnny, for being here, for sharing so openly. And is there any message that you want to give to people today that are watching this?
I think it's live your morals. Find out what you aspire to be. What are your ambitions? Chase them. Find out what drives you, what your passions are, the reasons why you want what you want, and create the environment to support that. Like, you get, it sounds really cliche, I can hear it, I can, but you do get one life. And it's when you have people close to you that pass away and you hear their regrets, you hear the things that they realize weren't important at all of that, you get the opportunity to do it. Don't be 90 years old sitting in your rocking chair wondering what if would have happened if you tried this, if you'd done that. Because here's the thing, if you try and you fail, at least you've got something to accept. Do you know what's really hard to accept? I wonder what if. No thanks. So it's that. And if you don't mind, I'd love to direct people. The course will be out. I think it's the 30th of August. That will be available on my website. It's called Self-Made, and it works on those made principles I spoke about, the morals, ambitions, drivers, and environments. I'll just say, I think it's going to be a game changer. I really do. Because it's everything I've learned the hard way and everything I've seen people go through. I've put it all together, and it's something I'm really proud of. And it's something that I think could really make a difference if you're struggling in any way with your self-development or you're sabotaging yourself, whichever.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Johnny, for spending today with us.
Thank you.